Find a spot around the fireplace, you goons. It's time for another tale of Casual Master Quest.
Aloha everybody, welcome back to another episode of Casual Master Quest. Welcome to the guild. The flames are hot, the fire is toasty, the marshmallows are ready. But we're kind of lonely over here. We really need some talk going on. However, we do have a couple of good tale masters over here. Ones that are going to spin us the most luxurious of descriptions. However, let's start off with the titles. The beautiful Nick. How is it going, buddy?
Going really, really good, actually. How are you doing, Tyler?
Oh, I am maybe not. I would say about 50% the spinning in my seat position right now as you are right now, but I am in a pretty good mood. I am like hyped. In fact, it's like I like to start saying fancy words, and all of a sudden I have no idea where I'm going, so I'll just explode in exponents right there.
I understand.
Okay, fair enough. Cam, how's it going, man?
Pretty good. As you see now, of course, having been in Casual Master Quest for a while, I can now reveal the fact that I am, of course, on the podcast, the premier Destiny person to go-to contact. So just look forward to that. All the great Destiny 2 talk coming right to you directly from me. Don't worry about it. It's free of charge.
Fantastic. I'm actually kind of scared because I feel like it's going to be cursed as an episode because something is missing here. Cam, you are not wearing your Yasugami shirt.
You're right, I'm not, and I figured somebody might draw attention to it. I just didn't want to.
Okay.
I didn't want to today.
Sure. It was kind of like when the big N on Nintendo's sign kind of fell.
Yeah.
After a storm hit it, I believe, or was it part of the earthquakes?
It might have been part of the earthquake. Although I don't know, because it might have come. I don't know when I saw that news story, or sometime last week. I don't know if it was before or after, but it would make sense if it was after.
It would make sense. So some kind of national technically.
Well,
natural
disaster. So
natural disaster had hit, Japan over this past week, and the giant end to Nintendo's headquarters had fallen off, which kind of gave me some bad juju. Like, maybe they felt that too, and that's why they delayed the direct. Like, this is a sign. We got to be careful what we do here. But, what do I know? So, this is Casual Master Quest number 18, which I put simply, instead of all the witty phrases, it's now a Destiny 2 podcast.
Congratulations.
Welcome
to the dark side.
Oh gosh. Like, it's weird because it's kind of like bathing in honey, but this honey is delicious and whatnot. It's like, I understand it's a good experience and all that, but I'm still, I'm knee deep in honey. It's like, what am I doing here? I feel uncomfortable with the fact that I've been playing.
Just accept it. Don't quit. Don't fight it. The more you fight it, the more it pulls you in.
I don't wanna.
It's like quicksand, except you can't get out.
I'm past the stage where, like, being a hipster saying, Destiny cool. I can't say I played it before it was cool. Because that part still hasn't came yet. I'm waiting for Destiny to be cool. But
there was no before it was cool for Destiny as a franchise. No. Not at all.
I mean, not for Destiny 2 specifically.
I was just going to say at all, because even back when Destiny 1 was launching, it was already the most hyped out game of that time period. So
absolutely. And so I can't even say hipster like, oh, I'm playing it ironically, because no, it's actually a fun experience. But we'll talk about Destiny 2 fairly soon. Right now, we're going to go into the most fantastic moment, the Pokemon Go Watch proverbial minute. We're going to be talking about Pokemon Go. It might be a little bit late in the news, but I could be proven wrong at any given moment. Let's find out. I'm going to point over at Nick. Nick, how's your Pokemon Go been going this week?
Well, classes have started up again, which means that I'm keeping up my streaks now. So get to campus, spin the Pokestop, catch Pokemon, get a gift, send out a gift, done. I picked up my roommate today. He's finally back after 2.5 months, and we stopped on the way home to get food. And as we were walking back to my car, saw a big gathering of people, about 22 people, and wondering why. My roommate hadn't paid his phone bill, so he couldn't really open up Pokemon Go. So I turned on my hotspot.
Nice.
Yeah, I turned on my hotspot, gave him access to Pokemon Go for like 5 minutes. We open it up and we see, it's a Moltres event.
Oh,
And we go like, oh, okay. But these guys were like, I'm assuming they, like groups that you're familiar with, Tyler, they, Discord or Facebook or some other social media formed a group and they just mob around from Pokestop or gyms to gyms and catching, whatever the events are.
It's funny you should say it as mobbing around, because quite frankly, I've been hearing a lot of complaints. Now, mind you, you're right. I do have a Discord group that are full of just wild, feverish, wanting to play Pokemon Go every given minute. But then I've been having a different group of people on the local Neighborhood Watch Facebook page complaining that large groups of people keep blockading these stores for about 5 to 10 minutes at a time, refusing to purchase product, and then after loitering and blocking interest and whatnot, would just randomly take off before the cops could show up. And we all know who it is. We're not doing demonstrations like Moltres, lives matter too, but it's ironic and funny in my end, because it's like I see them doing we're gonna go, let's do these raids right here, and then a couple hours later I see on the Facebook, hey, these people are causing a lot of problems and making public disturbances, and it's like, but yes, as you said,
I was gonna say, actually, so funny enough, I think that probably when Pokemon Go came out, right, circa 2016, I want to say sometime in later 2016 was probably the first time that parks in the US actually had to enforce their "we're closing" thing.
Absolutely. Oh man.
Yeah.
I've talked about the story now and then, but you're absolutely right. We have one park that is in downtown Bay City that people would play up until 3-4 in the morning, and just the place is well lit. There's no actual crime going on as far as I was aware anyways, and everybody was just peacefully running around rummaging and looking for rare Pokemon. Police would be coming down going, what the heck? And people would come up to them like, hey, we're playing Pokemon Go, and they'd be boggled. Night 2, they'd come back and be like, hey, do you guys catch anything? The police were super chill.
Yep,
but then
I actually got pulled. I've gotten pulled over by police, not pulled over as in a car, but when I've just gone out walking playing heavy in 2016, I want to say I've been pulled over maybe 8 times for playing Pokemon Go just in the middle of the night, because I like going out late, 1 a.m. or something like that, and I'm in a sketchy spot, admittedly, hitting swinging stops around a playground or something like that at 1 a.m.
Pains and their fingers and rhythm.
So the cops will come up all the time, and I just generally turn the phone. They know at this point, and I'm like, yeah, Pokemon. And they're like, this late? And I'm like, yeah, I don't have much other time. And they're like, okay, cool.
So they did implement a rule about 2 weeks in. Well, rather, the park closes after dark, but people, they're like, let the kids have fun. But after, a month later, it's like, oh crap, these sons of guns are not going anywhere. They're gonna keep flagging the local downtown. We got to have some control here. And obviously they did that, and eventually we all scattered and started playing at more normal times, or we quit, one of the two.
Mind you, that was I feel like that was a missed business opportunity for vendors.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It was weird because obviously a lot of phone companies jumped in on it, saying, made deals with Niantic, saying, hey, make us a Pokestop and we'll offer you some sweet deals, and they'll start posting like, hey, we're a Pokestop. Right. And McDonald's did a similar thing too, mostly in Japan, but they did a few times in America as well. However, I noticed that a lot of times, and I mentioned this earlier, businesses will have Pokestops or gyms in front of their stores, and they'll post them like, hey, come on in, we'll got pops, show us that you caught your raid thing, and we'll give you free candy or something like that. They won't come in. It's like they're too busy. The next raid is ready. And so you say you wish they partnered up with them. It's like,
well,
sure.
In the sense, if so, 2 things to say on that. When I say a missed business opportunity, I mean imagine if a park is getting more attention later than usual.
Yeah,
it's a good sign for a hot dog vendor or this kind of pickup truck.
Oh,
not
that'd
pickup
be
trucks.
smart.
What do you call it? Food trucks. To just set up shop.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I meant. And then on the
Especially
advertising side, I was really surprised when I went to New York City this summer that I saw a Verizon Pokemon stop and a Starbucks Pokemon stop, and it's not something I've ever seen here in Vancouver. We don't have advertised Pokemon stops.
Yeah.
So it took me a while. That's strange.
All
I'm
stops.
Maybe it's one stop, and then I see a couple of more down the block, and I'm like, okay, okay, now I know what's going on.
Yeah, I think all Starbucks are Pokestops, and I think all Sprint stores are Pokestops as well in the US.
Pretty much. Yeah. Most of them, if not all.
Oh, no, they weren't even stores. They were try the new Pokemon Go Starbucks drink or whatever. So there were actual advertisements on the Pokestop.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep, I've seen that too, because they did have a special drink. But in our area, actually, we did have a few cafes that kind of went with the whole team mechanic. They played it up a little bit, and they were like, oh, if you're on Team Valor, you can come in and get this deal. But if you're on Instinct, you can get this deal. Yeah, no, it was great.
I mean, I can imagine the team spirit. The closest thing I can think of is after the events, the community events. So once a month, we have a local state theater. They call it the State Theater. It's run down, seen better days. Occasionally gets a couple of bucks from plays and whatnot, and the local viewing of stuff had a small resurgence because they made a deal with the Facebook/Discord group of the Pokemon people to start advertising. Let's say the event would be from 2 to 5 p.m. At 5:30, 6 p.m., they would get rights to play a Pokemon movie.
Oh, cool.
So everybody, after the hundreds of people out there, after they're done catching their Pokemon and making sure they're all released and whatnot and involved, they would go over to the State Theater, buy tickets, and go watch Pokemon 2000 together.
That's a super neat idea. That's awesome.
I thought it was awesome that they were able to do that, and they also did part of the funds go to getting food to needy people. So it was super good all around, and I thought it was an awesome idea. And quite frankly, I don't know. I've never gone to them, but usually what would happen is I would go home instead and watch the movie by myself, because quite frankly, being in a small and contained room with a bunch of people that have been walking around for 3 hours straight and didn't have a chance to shower and whatnot, kind of frightening on my end. But it's the community that counts. That's not BO you're smelling. That's community spirit.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Much difference, like team spirit.
Yeah.
Team Spirit. I'm actually more for Team Valor, but Team Spirit's okay too.
What's the other one? Team Instinct?
Instinct and Mystic.
Mystic. Is that a new one?
No, that's.
Oh, you're bad. It's funny.
I'm adding this.
Okay, yeah.
The biggest in my area.
Actually, I'm curious because I'm Team Valor. I've never checked to see what you guys, what teams you guys are on. What are you guys playing?
Valor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And okay, so we got 2 Team Instincts and 1 Valor. 2 Valor and 1 Instinct. Let me try that again.
Make fun of Mystic all we want.
Yeah, no, pretty much. Like red is usually my favorite color. Red is my favorite color and would have been my go-to, but I don't know, design-wise, there was just something that appealed to me. I like Zapdos better. Really, so I saw Zapdos and I picked Team Instinct.
I mean, when it came to Pokemon Red and Blue, to me personally, when it came to the 3 legendary birds, I really liked Zapdos a lot, and I had a good appreciation for Articuno, but Moltres was that one bird Pokemon where in my head it's like, Moltres can't be super effective against Zapdos or Articuno at the time.
Yep.
Like, later on, obviously, fire would be ice, but until then, Zapdos could shock it, Articuno could freeze it, they would do double damage because ice would be fire and flying back in the Gen 1 days. And so Moltres never really held a spot in my heart at all. And plus, honestly, it looked like a yellow canary that was constantly on fire.
Yep,
and
pretty much.
The only other appreciation I had for it was in the anime when it was like the retrospect, like, we're going to light the Pokemon Olympics. Moltres is our, national bird for this one. The flame of Moltres.
Isn't it Ho-Oh?
I mean, for the Pokemon Olympics.
Not in Gen 1. Not in Gen 1. In Gen 1, Moltres was the Olympic flame bearer, the league flame bearer.
Or at least for the conferences in the anime. It was Ho-Oh, right? That they used the flame.
That might have been later on, because it was originally Moltres Flame.
It was absolutely originally the Moltres Flame. Like, the only time we saw Ho-Oh was episode 1. Ooh.
Yeah.
You might have saw a mythical Pokemon that won't be mentioned for at least 2 more years.
Hasn't been discovered yet.
Yeah, the best part about that scene, too, is while he's talking on the phone with Professor Oak about it, he sees a panel of 4 legendary Pokemon, and it's Articuno, Zapdos, Moltres, and Arcanine.
Arcanine.
Yeah. Arcanine is, even lore-wise, I think, was considered legendary. Because of its
I
speed.
think in Pokédex it's called the legendary Pokemon.
He was never a legendary, but his actual entry, I believe, is the legendary Pokemon. It's really weird.
It's so cool.
It's like something they dropped, because they didn't do anything special with it either in the show, if I remember correctly. He was just a Pokemon, so...
No, I mean, they threw him in the opening scene of Arcanine running, but I don't remember any actual Arcanine appearances. It was just Growlithe.
Yeah.
Like with Jenny.
Yeah, Arcanine did show up a couple times, but it wasn't anything like legendary about it.
What if like on those tablets Arcanine was confused, or Entei was confused for Arcanine?
Yeah, that would have been, yep.
I mean,
that's my closest speculation, yeah.
That is your speculation.
So, random question, and this is going to be focused towards Cam. Cam, do you remember the episode that focuses on where Ash and the team meets Bill for the first time? In his lighthouse.
Yes, with the Dragonite, yeah.
Yes, he got stuck in the Kabuto suit and all that stuff. And all of a sudden, at the end of the thing, he was searching for this legendary Dragonite that apparently was approximately 1.5 miles tall. Did we figure out if that was really a Dragonite? Or was this just was this kind of like the Metal Gear Solid can't explain Psycho Mantis thing because nanomachines didn't quite work there, but it might have been magic.
It was like, all right, so early Pokemon does have this thing where it plays up stuff that they go on to explain later on as normal. So like we see Dragonite in the Orange Leagues, and we see it I think a little bit later. No, I don't know if we see it again in Indigo, but we see it in the Orange Leagues, and it's a regular sized Pokemon. Like
we also see Dragonite in the first Pokemon movie as a messenger.
As the messenger.
I think the Orange League Dragonite also. There was an oddity about it. I think its wings were bigger.
In the Orange League?
Yeah, because it was Drake's Dragonite, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think its wings were bigger because Dragonite's wings compared to its body are really tiny and shouldn't work. But I think Drake's Dragonites had bigger wings.
It was something, I don't remember if he had something special, but I just remember he had a Dragonite in that fight. But yeah,
and then
it
was
in the original.
By a Pikachu. Yep. What a weak Dragonite. That's poor training on Drake's part.
What a good Pikachu.
Props to Pikachu.
I was gonna say, don't bring the Dragonite down, praise the Pikachu. Come on.
No, you praise the Pikachu, but you have to bring the Dragonite down. That's poor planning on Drake's part.
I mean, Drake's Dragonite was level 50, level 55 or something like that, and the first time we encounter like a level of Pikachu would be fighting Red in Pokemon Gold and Silver. Pikachu's like level 81.
I should note, I mean, of course, Pikachu does grow, but if you look at the end of any series, so Pikachu has some disgusting wins to itself. Like in the actual anime, Pikachu has done some actual work, some ridiculous work beyond what a Pikachu should be able to do. Just an example being at the end of Gen 6 in the anime, Pikachu he took down a Metagross, a Tyranitar in the same fight, a Metagross and a Tyranitar in a league battle, and then made a Mega Charizard bend the knee before eventually losing. So Pikachu did.
You said Gen 6?
Gen 6.
So that means absolute work. So
yeah, no, he didn't. No, wait. I think he still had Iron Tail then.
Not Iron Tail was in Ruby and Sapphire.
Yeah, Volt Tackle. He had Electro Ball.
That is the dumbest thing they've ever done. But Electro Ball.
That's okay. They got rid of Electro Ball.
Tackle.
They gave him Electro Web instead.
Oh, even better.
Right. No, it's kind of dumb. It's kind
of smart move. Who needs? Was it Gabantula? I think it was that.
Right.
You think it had that as a signature move?
So Cam, how you been doing on Pokemon Go?
Yeah. Tell us about Pokemon Go, Cam.
I caught a real big Tauros. That's what happened to me. That's what I did.
You got a big old bull. Good job.
A real big Tauros. I saw him today. He was just hanging out on the side of the road near some woods, and it was like full, strong. It might be even 80. It might be like 80 IV, but it was fully powered up, so it was like 2186 or something like that.
Nice.
So I was like, cool, I'll take it.
Don't you like that? It's like you don't know if it has a good IV or not when you first look at it, but it's like, hey, it's maxed out at 22, 23. I could toss you in the gym and forget about you for a while.
Exactly.
And over on my end, I'm gonna be real. I tried psyching myself into playing on like Monday, Tuesday, and I started getting my trades in and all that stuff. And then I immediately stopped because something happened on Tuesday that probably changed a lot of our lives for quite a while there. So,
Tyler, I'm not entirely sure about this event that you're referring to. Do you want?
Yeah, I mean, Nick's just learning. So,
if there's anything else that we want to talk about with Pokemon Go or any Pokemon related material, I mean, let's lay it down here, and we're going to put it for a piece or put it 2-piece for a week.
Yeah, I'm all good in Pokemon Go.
Okay. For those who have been entranced with this very, very, very long minute Pokemon Go proverbial minute there for you people. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll be talking more about it next week. Hopefully we'll play a little bit more, and we'll give you the deepest of Pokemon anime lore and games and whatnot. I mean, hey, we taught you a little bit about Arcanine, the weird oddities of Dragonite, and the ridiculous OP-ness of Ash's Pikachu.
Do you guys want to hear all of Ash's win rates throughout the entire series for each generation statistically? I can do that too. Haha.
I could give you another 10 seconds if you just want to know.
No.
Okay, thank you.
No.
Jeez. Oh,
but mercy. I do know that.
Okay, no, the last thing I will say is Ash is disgustingly inconsistent.
Yes, he is.
Oh yeah, he is like pretty much like the Sora of Kingdom Hearts. Every world he goes to, he kind of like acclimates to it with the weird animation change. Like it freaked me out when Ash had colored pupils at us, with the new one.
I'm pretty sure that was black and white.
Black and white. He had different colored pupils. Ash not winning the Kalos League is the biggest travesty of all time. End quote. There we go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just a completely random side note. The character Krillin from Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
A lot of people noted that in the original design, Krillin had white for the white of his eyes drawn in. But but after like episode 8 or 9, it disappeared. So the back of his eyes behind his pupil was the color skin. And so I was curious, are you pro or against having white pupils for Krillin's eyes?
I just think whatever the later one is, because I barely remember.
All right. I won't bring in Dragon Ball.
I don't remember that difference.
Where are we getting nerdy with Pokemon? So, guys, let's talk about what we've been playing. Cam, what have you been playing, buddy?
Well, I have actually full review for us today. I have a very wonderful full review to go through. Because I picked up a new video game console, guys, and it's very exciting. And this is partially a visual product, but you can see here I have the highest class of Chinese consoles coming directly from the manufacturers in China. I have right here this, which is called the Children's Puzzle Game 2.0 Children Video Game Console 256 in 1. Anyway, it's dumb. I bought this for $8 on AliExpress.
Okay, so for audio listeners, Cam is holding up a really thick, like an OG PSP. It's red in color. Everything is red except for the screen. There's a white border on the screen, and it's a small, tiny Game Boy Advance screen. Maybe a tiny bit bigger. Cam, is there a backlight on this product?
Yeah, no, actually, the screen's pretty solid. It runs such classics as Mario, which is very impressive, of course. Also, such classics,
Nintendo this one. That's fantastic.
8-bit Famicom classics such as Angry Birds, Nuts and Milk, also America Warrior.
I too like Nuts and Milk.
Here, let's actually fire it up, and you guys can see all the wonderful. We'll put wow, hold on, let me put that up to the camera.
It looks like a micro PSP design, like reminiscent of the micro Game Boy, except instead of shrinking the whole console, they just did the screen.
It's so amazing that it's actually just plastic garbage. So this is funny. I really just had to bring this on because I bought this for $8 on AliExpress, which I definitely recommend people go check out for funny video game stuff because they have a bunch of knockoffs. They're super cheap. Shipping's like free and it takes like 20 days to get here, but it's ridiculous. This thing actually works, which blew me away. It is one of those 256 games in one things where if you ever had those as a kid, like it's like actually 30 games and then like 30 different manipulations of each game with just a different name.
They're just completely garbage in any case, usually.
But I found Donkey Kong's on here, Mario's on here, Contra's on here. There's a lot of shoot 'em ups that are on here as well from Atari and NES. So it's actually like for $8, it's pretty good.
Yeah, $8 to get all those licenses, man. That company did great.
I mean, you say that as if, This is China we're talking about. And copyright laws in China are not as stringent, which means this is completely bootleg, 100%. I can guarantee you that.
Let's say stringent as in harder to sue, but yes, I guess that's one way of viewing it. Holy smokes!
Well, no protection whatsoever.
Let's hear your rating on it. What are your opening thoughts for this? I know you mentioned a couple of things here, but
it's funny. So one opening thought is the screen itself. When you think about a video game console, right, we think about screens a lot, but I think what's very important is that stupid stuff that protects the screen from damage. We just get rid of that. That's dumb. Yeah, here we just have the screen. We just have the screen directly. So if you touch it, if you scratch it, if you poke it, there's the screen right there. The upside being you get a much clearer picture because the screen's directly here instead of behind a protective lens.
And how thick would you say the screen is? Or not the thickness, how wide? Like
how wide?
3 inches, 3.5 inches?
Yeah, maybe 2.5 inches, something like that. Okay, it's definitely ready to break at any point and will probably explode and catch on fire. But until that point, I'm gonna burn my eyes with searing LCD 8-bit graphics. And I mean, that is where I'm at.
Galaxy 7 Note batteries that they had to get rid of all of them. they put it into this instead.
Could be.
Let's see. What's your favorite game that you've played on it so far?
Okay, so actually they have a game on here called Stargate, and it's not actually Stargate, but it's just a shoot 'em up, and it's a multi-directional shoot 'em up, and I've been actually enjoying that. But I bought this totally as a joke, and yes, it's shaped like a mini PSP, and it's a fun time. It's a fun time. You can get tons of clone consoles off AliExpress, so go check it out.
So in terms of the price worth analysis, what's your...
We're at like 200%, 300% maybe price worth analysis. Okay. Dude, this is $8. This is a hefty meal at Taco Bell.
Free shipping all the way from
all the way from China. Yeah, all the way from China.
Let's say don't say anything like Taiwan or anything like that. They hate that. Don't recognize Taiwan as a separate country. Ooh.
Yeah. But it's on the high end, you could say it's a very expensive Taco Bell meal, or it's a very cheap meal at a sit-down restaurant for a wonderful video game experience.
I would crap my pants if I got that as a prize from McDonald's or something like that.
What are we doing with the Nick Switch initiative? It should be the Nick, whatever that is, initiative.
2.0 video game children's puzzle console handheld 256 in one. Yeah, that's the name.
I mean, if that was the Nick That Name is initiative, and that was only $8, I'd buy you 3 of them. I'd throw an extra.
Oh, 3! Wow.
I know, $24.
I don't know what
right
questions. What questions could we ask you about this system itself? It has so many games. Like wonderful, wonderful.
You can ask me what it's called, and I'd fail it right then and there.
We got Bomberman, we got Galaga, we got Pooyan, we got Icky,
Pooyan,
we got Nuts Milk, we got Garden War. Everyone's excited for that music moment. We got Fruit.
I too enjoy my music moment.
Fruit Gift, Devil World. That's a good one.
Oh, right, I heard that one.
A lot of my favorite.
Devil Shigami Tensei.
We got two good ones right here. Grot Kid, also Super Arabian.
Grot Kid.
Super Arabian. That's a good one too.
Super Arabian.
That's the name of my new dubstep band.
Santa Claus. There's a game just called Santa Claus.
Santa Claus.
Warp Man. Yeah, no, plenty of stuff
what
here.
People don't know is actually that game called Santa Claus actually allows you to communicate with Santa Claus directly and see what his yearly progress is.
It's true. Also, the most important game on here, number 93, is just named Violent.
Oh, Violent.
Yes, everybody knows.
That's my favorite game.
Yeah, that one didn't make it over to Australia. They had to get that imported directly.
An early version of Hatred, if you guys are familiar with that. But anyway,
I thought it was more related to the popular side story Rage, but I guess that would make sense.
Could be. Yeah, besides that, I played a lot of Destiny 2, and I made a mistake that wasn't a mistake because I bought all the DLC plus Forsaken, and I'm done with it. Not done in the sense I'm finished playing, but I finished all the story content.
The campaign,
I'm at soft cap already, so.
Okay, yeah. Well, I'm sure we'll expand on Destiny 2 in a little bit.
We'll hold off then. Is there any other games that you've been playing, Cam?
Just old school original RuneScape. Nothing, not original as in classic, but just old school RuneScape on mobile, tablet, and computer. Just that usual grind, pretty much.
Right, yeah.
Yep, cool. That's all.
Nick.
Hi.
Nick, so, since we're going to save the big, wonderful dessert that is a certain game of Bungie's, what other games have you been playing?
I almost played Battlefield 5.
I need to do that.
Did you turn it on and look at it, or?
Yes, and then another game came up in the way, and so I went off to, I went back to my main game and didn't play my side game.
You don't have to call it main game. We know the game that you just bought and installed on Tuesday. It's okay.
I almost played Battlefield 5. The beta is open till the 11th of September, I believe. Yep. It closes it's an open beta for everybody, I think, on consoles and PC. Closes at somebody gave me a ridiculously early time, 7 a.m. PST, Pacific time, something like that. Yeah. So I'll probably get around to that sometime this weekend. It has been a busy week with classes starting, and I volunteered at a gaming conference, which we're going to talk about also in a bit. But I haven't had much time to put into Destiny 2 for the new DLC that released on September 4th at 10 a.m. PSC worldwide.
So Battlefield 5, I might have mentioned this previously in a different episode. There's been a lot of issues because people are worried that some kind of tracking study showed that Battlefield 5 had the lowest amount of pre-orders to date.
It's going to bomb.
But then Battlefield, that would be I always get it mixed up. Is it EA or Activision?
That's EA.
Battlefield is EA.
Okay, thank you. Thank goodness. EA has pointed out, it's hey, we actually got more pre-orders than Titanfall 2, so we're all right. It's that's okay.
That's not a good metric.
That's concerning, but sure. I mean, if you're
that's not because Titanfall 2, the marketing or at least release date was horrible for it. Titanfall 2 is it's a beautiful game.
Yep.
And EA, was it EA at that time?
Yes, it was. And there was the conspiracy theory that EA actually targeted that release to make it so they could buy out the studio, which they ended up doing.
Yep. And so Titanfall 3 is either never going to happen or it's going to be horrible.
But I will say this, that might be coming back to bite them, because if they did end up doing that, if they did actually put the release date where it was as the publishers to make it so that they would put the stock down and then buy out the company behind it, they're actually about to experience the same thing with Battlefield 5, where there's too many games that they're in between and they're the losers this time. So actually take what's coming to you. Actually take it.
Fair enough. Oh boy. Over my end, since we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna have our own different minute of sorts. On the World of Warcraft Battle for Azeroth front, I have not touched the new expansion as per the tradition. In terms of the reputation, out of the 21,000 that I need, I'm currently at 12,500. So I've been able to make up to about 1,500 reputation a day, plus a bonus 2,000 a week. I would say about one more week, and I should be able to get there just fine. So next week, hopefully I can finally talk about my beloved Void Elf, which I don't have a name for yet, but she is going to be an awesome mage. I tell myself that every single day. And nice thing is they have something called the Dark Moon Fair. I'm not sure if you guys have heard about that before. It's like a weird once every couple of months traveling circus in the World of Warcraft world, where if you go there's a bunch of games. If you play them, you get tickets. You can cash them in from cool heirloom gear and whatnot. So if you want to look cool from the past without actually trying to grind for the raids and all that from level 60 and whatnot, you can do that. For me in particular, the biggest thing is if you spin around an America round, you get 10% bonus reputation and experience for an hour. So nice. I'll go in there, spin in the circle, say, yay, I'm having fun, and then immediately jump headfirst into the world quest that I'm starting to hate. I'm really starting to hate, because there's the burnout period where you hit when it does something like this, but then it's that second wind of hatred that you kind of give, like self-loathing, as you continue to do the work past the burnout. And I'm hitting that point. But hopefully next week I'll be free of that. That nightmare will be over, and I'll be exalted with Argustian Breach and the Army of the Light. So there's that. Persona 4, I've actually had quite a bit of time to play with, because not only did I pick up a lot of deliveries where I'd have to sit there for a half hour to an hour and a half, I actually had a tire blow on me. And when it comes to a truck tire blowing out on you, it's not like, oh no, I'll have somebody come with a regular car tire, prop it up with the jack, and away we go. It's like, no. There's not too many truck tire distributors that'll send a mechanic out, to you. And so the place I was at, the nearest place that would take me that we had an account with, was about an hour away. And it's like, oh no.
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do? Exactly. It's like, meanwhile, I got the PlayStation Vita just sitting there charging off of my radio. And so I played quite a bit of that. I'm reaching the I think I'm floor 4 of what is called Heaven.
Oh, okay, all right.
So I believe her name is Nanako.
Yep.
Nanako's dungeon, essentially. And I'm kind of upset because I hit max with her father, but I hit level 9 with her. And I was told if I got max with her, there could be like a change of dialogue because you have such a close relation. So instead of being her bestest big, or super big brother that maybe turn her into a brocon or something like that, I'm just the cool best brother.
Yeah. So man, I just want to interject on one point there, Tyler. Yes. You mentioned something called the PS Vita.
Yeah.
Yes.
He did.
I've never actually heard of that.
Wow. It's
oh boy. I can see it from here. I don't want to get up and reach for it either.
Pre-orders.
It lives, man. It lives.
I got 2 games pre-ordered, Nick. Don't throw that at me right now.
No, like
pre-ordered for the Vita.
I'm sure I've said this.
Of course I do.
Wait.
Are they like on indefinite release right now or something?
Yeah, no, they're coming out.
Eventually.
Pre-order for Vita?
Yeah, no, pre-order for Vita games.
I got a pre-order for the PS4 too.
Is it a Western release game?
No.
Or is it a okay? Yeah.
It's gonna be an import.
That's what I wanted to be sure about.
I mean, no, hold on. It is releasing in the West, but it's not a Western game.
Okay.
They are both pre-orders are for Western releases though. Japanese
could
games.
they be considered visual novels? We're about to play 20 questions here. Guess the games.
Yes to both.
Okay. I mean, hey, I have nothing against that. You know me. I love my visual novels. It's been a while, and those things. It's not that they take effort; they just take a lot of time.
Yep. For those wondering, those 2 are Punchline and also bartending. Okay, Cyberpunk bartending. What is it called? 20-something Cyberpunk bartending action or whatever. Or Valhalla. VA 11 Hollow 3 or something like that.
So
actually,
3
that one,
awesome sounding words.
Not Japanese. Not Japanese. I was mistaken. Valhalla is actually, I want to say Nicaraguan. No, Venezuelan. They're a Venezuelan company that made Valhalla.
Okay, fair enough. So Persona 4. I've gotten a little bit further into it. I think I'm at the 34-hour mark. I'm still trying to woo Naoto, but it's proving very difficult. However, I finally got to see her without her hat. And I'm also appreciating that now that she's giving up the fact that she's, pretending she's a super manly man guy like Kanji. She's now, used her actual voice acting, and now she sounds, like a lady. And I know it can come off wrong in so many different ways depending on how people view that, but I thought it was awesome. It's like, wow, they did a cool dynamic change to the character, showing, her personal struggles and how she tried to portray herself. And I really like that, and I hope I can build a cool relationship before the world ends or whatever the hell happens after the end of this dungeon, because
Persona
I know after
4 is all about happy self-actualization. It's wonderful. It's a good, happy time.
It's something. Quite frankly, this is the first time after that cutscene that showed Nanako's father chasing the would-be perpetrator down, that actually brought me emotion for the first time in this entire game since the very beginning. Like, after I got Max Link with Chie, I was like, okay, I don't know what to do with myself anymore. I just want to get this game over with. And that obviously was like the 10-hour mark. So 24 hours in, it's like, I finally feel something. My baby sister's in trouble.
Trouble.
Hey, big brother.
No.
So I get to do that. Hopefully I get to wrap that up next week to get into, the true ending, whatever the heck you want to call it. The last game that I played, besides a certain other game by Bungie that got released on Tuesday by
September 4th.
Thank you. I was gonna say, if you want to give the times and all that, you're more than welcome to.
Tyler, one thing I forgot to tell you though, in regards to Persona 4, if you are going for the true ending, make sure that you talk to Marie enough. Make sure you're friends with Marie.
I am Max Link and in a forbidden relationship with Maria.
All right, perfect. You're all set then.
Okay, good. I was like, she was one of the first people I saw. And of course, every single time I want to talk to somebody, and it's like, oh, I'm going to woo them and make them, Max Social Link. But then they don't really tell me anything about them. In this case, obviously, she's like, oh, I have amnesia. I was like, oh, Wikipedia. And of course, I jumped down the wrong road. And so I also completely forgot most about the stuff. But I know that she's a very prominent character that she'll make, an appearance later on, I believe.
Only in Golden. She's Atlas's Lightning. They shoehorn her in wherever they can.
Oh boy. Okay, cool. I mean, it was just, Maria's an interesting character, and I hope to get to understand her a little bit more. But yeah, she was definitely one of the people. I was told her and Nanako specifically for the sake of dungeon plots. But yes, I got that one at least covered. So we got that. Finally, lastly, the game I've been streaming this week, Skyward Sword. I'm about 6 hours into it now, and man, guys, that is an experience. Have you guys played Skyward Sword before?
Yep.
You know my answer to that.
I know that answer to that, and quite frankly, it should stay that way. But, however, before I get deeper into that,
it's okay.
I want to defend. But the last time I played Skyward Sword, it was 2013, and so it's been quite a while. It's been 5 years since I've played Skyward Sword. And so when I first played it, I was like, whoa, my eyes are burning. The graphics are horrible. When did it get this terrible? Now, mind you, I was playing a game for a mythical console called the Wii U, the HD update. And, those were, fantastic. It looked good. It was, it was 1080 or whatever, the real equivalent is. Is it really 1080 or is it 720 for
the Wii U's 1080?
Okay, I'm just making sure.
Wow, we referenced 2 dead consoles in one in like 10 minutes. That's amazing.
Yeah, welcome to Casual Master Quest.
You've satisfied me. I'm all done here. My work is done.
I said we just got to bring up the Amiga at this point. I think we'd be all set. Yeah, all right.
Oh, funny story, really quick. So my college club started up again. Even though I graduated, I'm going back to the gamer club, and I managed somehow. I don't know how the hell this happened, but did you just drink?
Look, I need
Tyler
to
just took a shot of hot sauce over here.
Look, I need to feel pain from what's about to happen because I feel like I need to develop real tears for this. So go ahead and tell me this.
That was ridiculous. You got some. You got some right there. I just look away and he's chugging hot sauce. Anyway, so I sit down and I manage somehow. I sit down
let's be real.
manage.
It's Frank's Red Hot. It's not really a hot sauce.
Okay, fair. So I sit down, managed to sit with 4 other people who not only owned a Wii U, but all played Xenoblade Chronicles X, which only sold like 600,000 units or something like that. Like, it was ridiculous. Statistically, that should not have been possible.
So do all like the worst gamers live in your area? Is that
all the best? All the best. The best.
Yeah.
If I could sit in a room with 3 other unicorns too, I would totally do it. No questions asked.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
I mean, obviously there's a bigger difference. They're cooler. Wii U, man. Come on.
Yeah.
It's kind of upsetting because the only person that I've known personally that had a Wii U was the person that gave me his Wii U to serve overseas. And then he bought his own Wii U a second time after I paid off for, getting his.
Yep.
And so that was the only connection I had of knowing people that had the Wii U. And then you came along, Cam. So bless you. Thank you.
Like, I know a few, but the thing is, Xenoblade Chronicles X was such a niche game, even on the Wii U, that it was super amazing. I was managed to just sit down with 3 other random people who all had played it. It was a little bizarre.
I mean, for me, that would be like sitting in the room with 3 other people that played Four Swords Adventure for the GameCube. It's like
with 4 people.
With like at least one other person, so they had to use the Game Boy Advance, extension cords and all that stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm still convinced to this day, and my friends and I have all the equipment to do it, and we've done it before. But I'm convinced to this day nobody's actually beaten that game with 4 people, with everybody connected. Because
I got bad news for you, buddy. You have met him.
You need to have, with 4 people, you need to
video
have
proof.
3 Game Boys. You need to have 3 Game Boys, GameCube controller, and 3 of the link cables as well.
You mean 4, right?
No, because you can still doesn't first screen still able to play on the GameCube or no?
I believe specifically, if you were playing single player, you can use just the GameCube controller because it can switch screens in the TV. But I had thought, and I'm pretty sure that I needed 4 different Game Boy Advance controllers. Because when you're entering a house with or something like that, it would show it on the Game Boy Advance instead of actually on the screen.
Yep.
But
So
I could be wrong on that.
Game Boy. You need 4 Game Boy Advances. You need the game itself. You need the link cables, and it's just like I've never seen it done without the intentional endeavor to do it. So like my friends and I actually went around and got all the equipment, and we're like, okay, we need to buy a couple more cables. We have enough Game Boy. This should be okay because you can't use certain models. There's only some you can use, and it's like, and you finally get there. And
it's a huge passion project of love. Like I had a orange plastic toolbox specifically dedicated to hold all these controllers and cables and whatnot. And so when my friend looks at me and says, "Bring the orange toolbox," it's like I know what he wants to do, and we're gonna do this. This was at the point of the time where the Wii was the big thing, and so getting cables and whatnot without resorting to Amazon was very difficult. Going to the mom and pop shops trying to find them because they weren't at Walmart anymore. But when I got them, and then we all had our Game Boy Advances or the dead console left of one, and we started putting them to use, it was a fantastic moment, man. The idea of having 4 different people team up and just like link together to start spinning around in a square of death. It was one of the most satisfying experiences, man.
Definitely. I will say just big hard on Nintendo's end for why did they ever think that was a good idea, because nobody was able to do it.
Oh, it was like the experience was beautiful simply because of how difficult it was.
Exactly.
I mean, they tried to make it easier with Triforce Heroes, but
oh well. That all being said,
so Skyward Sword, I would say without any kind of reservation, Skyward Sword, out of all the Zelda games, with the possible challenge of Wind Waker, has the best soundtrack in all the series.
Really?
Yes, 100%.
I'm strong on Wind Waker for that one.
Like I said, Wind Waker is a good challenge to that because Wind Waker has quite a good, the themes and the way that they build each of the soundtracks, very nice. However, I noticed that Skyward Sword, I believe that was Skyward Sword the first one to do an actual full-size orchestra for recording the music? Because I thought that was the case. Because I mean, I know they did something similar. I want to say that that goes challenged because I believe Twilight Princess also had it orchestrated. Wind Waker might have been medied a little bit, and everybody. You okay there, Cam? Oh, never mind. Cam is gone. He's teleported.
We lost Cam.
So, anyways, the Vita is dead. Hi, Cam. So, anyways, let's talk about.
Did you really ask me a question in those like 30 seconds I was gone?
Yes. We didn't realize. We didn't realize because you were in the same pose as you just.
I thought you were
talking about Skyward Sword. Why are you asking me something? I was like, I'm gonna get away with it this time.
Okay, let me rephrase it like this. That way, it doesn't like evolve into a debate. Skyward Sword has a great soundtrack.
Okay,
and it's probably its most redeeming feature by far, 100%. Because I played a game on the stream yesterday. Every time I saw Fi giving me instructions on how to play the game, I'd take a shot. I was pretty intoxicated by the end of that, fairly quickly too, because there were moments where she'd be appear to tell you something, a cutscene would happen, she would disappear into your sword, and then right after the cutscene ends, she would pop right back out to tell him someone else. So that's a double shot right there. I'm getting tanked, and I didn't think that when people are saying, "Oh, it's a really hard hand-holding game," it's like it's not that. Yeah, it's bad. I mean, right now. I just finished the first 2 dungeons, and she still have not stopped. She has still, or she's continued. Rather, I'm a terrible English speaker. I'm sorry. She keeps going, and it's really frustrating because it stinks because I really want her to have a personality. But there's nothing that's going to be there. Like the only time she gives humor is, it through statistics, which isn't really humor, but it's like, it's humor for us, but not through her. And the only time she gives emotion is at the very last sentence she says at the very end of the game. And so I know I have to deal with her as a partner who really isn't there. It almost reminds me of Detroit Become Human with Connor. Because Connor didn't really have all that emotion either, but he was, at the end, he started to realize that he had, something going on there. He felt justice and love. And, Pi doesn't have that. So, Skyward Sword. So, let's talk about Destiny 2.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's definitely do that. Where do you want to start?
Okay. So,
as the Destiny 2 very active premium expert and headmaster of this entire topic for the show.
Oh, of course. Thank you.
Leading pioneer for Destiny 2 talk and all of the future for many podcasts to come. Please tell me about it. Oh, crap. I don't want to. I'm worried. I picked the wrong name here. I'm going to go. Nick, tell us all about it, please.
Nick's just learning. It's understandable.
So you did just start this Tuesday, Nick.
One thing I want to set the boundaries here. As far as I understand it, Cam, you finished the story.
Yeah.
You finished all the stories.
I
finished all the stories. Tyler, you've not finished the new campaign, right?
I have put an hour and a half into Forsaken, so I have had just enough time to see Cade give his last witty joke. And then see all the lieutenants, give their farewell with Mr. Soft.
Right. Okay. So, then I'm gonna lead it asking you a question. You've had the luxury, you've had the blessing to play Destiny 2 base campaign, Curse of Osiris, and Warmind with the new weapon system. How have you enjoyed your experience so far? Have you enjoyed your experience so far?
Could you explain the new weapon system? Like, what would I have been used to previously?
So Destiny 2 went free for PS Plus users. So after the 28th. So that was when they changed the weapon system.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the previous weapon system, in your primary and your secondary slot, you would have only ever been limited to hand cannons, pulse rifles, scout rifles, auto rifles, and sidearms and SMGs. Shotguns, snipers, fusion rifles, linear fusion rifles, grenade launchers, and rocket launchers were restricted to the power ammo slot. So, as a popular Destiny YouTuber put it, the weapon system pre-patch was terrible. He used a stronger word, and a word that I'm not allowed to use yet.
Yep.
No, you got about another 10 minutes. Don't worry.
Yeah. So I'm just curious as to how your experience has been with the new weapon system. Like, have you been enjoying yourself, or?
Well, with this in mind, since I'm fresh to all the new weapon types and all that with Destiny 2, I've started to favor certain types of rifles. My 2 top favorite would be the pulse rifle and the scout rifle. Mostly because it's more focused on less recoil. It does only a couple of shots, but I like to hit hard precisely when I do hit. Okay. And since I'm now able to do that, I believe that wasn't the case before. I can have, a scout rifle in one category and then a pulse rifle in my second category. Was I not able to do that before?
No, that's how it was.
Oh, right. Then I'm happy so far. So I guess the problem is the power weapons then, such as the rocket launcher, the grenade launcher, where were they originally? So
they were also shotguns, snipers, grenade launchers, rocket launchers, fusion rifles, swords. They were all in the power slot only. Now, shotguns, snipers, certain fusion rifles are now, you can equip them in either the kinetic or the energy slot.
Yeah.
So essentially, you could possibly have a loadout that consisted of 3 shotguns.
Yep. Now, crazy question. I thought I had saw this, and I might be wrong. Can you get a grenade launcher in your energy or kinetic slot?
There are a few grenade launchers that you can get only in your energy slot.
Okay.
And those are single-shot grenade launchers.
Yeah.
So you'd have to reload after. And the one exotic, it's called the Fighting Lion.
I haven't seen that yet. Jeez. I guess since I haven't technically gotten far enough to where this has taken a huge effect on me, I don't care for shotguns in particular unless it's PvP. Mm-hmm. And hand cannons almost in the same boat. So since
we're opposites.
I like to use the scout rifle and the pulse rifle for both PvP and PvP uses, I don't think the weapons change has given me a huge effect.
No, that's fine. So how it used to be in Destiny 1 is your primary slot would be scout rifles, pulse rifles, auto rifles, hand cannons, and I'm trying to think if there's anything else. No, that's it. Your secondary slot was shotguns, snipers, fusion rifles, sidearms. We didn't have SMGs in Destiny 1. And your heavy ammo slot was rocket launchers, swords, grenade launchers, light machine guns, which are coming back in one of the next DLCs.
Okay. I was gonna say.
And so what they did was people were complaining about the Destiny 2 weapon system because it wasn't great for PvP, but I missed it when things changed for PvE to some extent. Like, it was not terrible. But in terms of PvP, it really forced people to stick together and shoot. There were no solo moments, but that's a different topic.
I think one big change too, and correct me if I'm wrong, but now is it the case that you can actually decide to use the sniper rifle and not be crazy?
Yeah, so specifically, this is a big change for PvP because you can go out. Earlier, you had to rely on picking up heavy ammo, which spawned once a minute, and you'd only get about 4 or 5 shots. And you had to compete with everybody else on your team if you wanted to snipe. Now, you get 2 shots on your sniper right off spawn because you can put it in either your kinetic or your energy slot, or you can put a sniper in both. But then they
use special ammo now, the green ammo?
Yeah, it uses the green ammo, and they share the ammo pool. Okay. And so this is really, so what they did was they took a best of both worlds kind of situation. They made a really modular weapon system where you can run 3 snipers, you can run 3 shotguns if you wanted. There's no practical sense as to why you would, because special ammo
to reload if you can murder.
Pretty much, that's precisely it. But now it's a lot more modular, and anybody can play the way they want to, because Destiny 2 OG weapon system was not terrible for PvE. What was really confusing was that a sniper was put in the same category as a rocket launcher. Yeah. Some snipers deserve to be there, but most snipers don't output as much damage as a rocket launcher would, right? So that was one of the other confusing moments. You didn't feel powerful in PvE. Now I can slide around the place shotgunning like enemies in the face if I wanted with a rocket launcher and like a hand cannon. So anyways, that's my little rant on how things have changed for the better. There have been a bunch of quality of life updates. But tell me about, Tyler, tell me about your experience with Forsaken campaign so far. Like, how have you enjoyed the difference in storytelling?
I'm just curious, then. I would like to pose my own question to the two of you. Favorite type of weapon so far? Like I said, mine is the pulse rifle specifically, but is there a type of rifle or a gun that you guys really enjoy?
Yeah, I'm feeling specifically there's hand cannons. Yes, hand cannons in general, but specifically there's a couple hand cannons that it's a reload thing, but a couple of hand cannons, rather than coming out with the side barrel, it splits in half like a break almost, and you throw like the new barrel on the front and then pull it back up. I haven't found another one since I was using one mid Warmind, and I want to really, really bad. That was my favorite by far.
Okay. And Nick?
I love pulse rifles. Pulse rifles are my general go-to. But in terms of PvP, hand cannons, fusion rifles, shotguns, I want to be able to get my sniping back. I used to be a decent sniper in D1.
Do you remember the gun called the Graviton Lance?
Graviton Lance, yes.
Graviton Lance, pardon me.
Yeah.
That is a pulse rifle that I love and adore, and I've kept with me to this day since PvP. The damage of the gun is... Isn't that I can't even say that word. Does it matter what the power level is on a gun when it comes to the Crucible?
Not for most Crucible playlists, no.
Okay.
So your power level advantages are disabled for most playlists. So the Graviton Lance, interestingly enough, was affected by an exotic weapon buff in, I want to say, May or June. So the Graviton Lance and the Vigilance Wing. Graviton Lance is an energy weapon, so it goes in the second slot. Vigilance Wing will go in the top slot. The Vigilance Wing is a 5-burst pulse rifle, and it's one of the slower rate of fire pulse rifles, but it absolutely dominates from medium to long range. Graviton Lance is a 2-burst pulse rifle. I can't remember the rate of fire on it, but it also absolutely dominates. So the time to kill for those two guns was significantly lower than anything else that was in the Crucible at that point in time. And so you couldn't play. Like, you couldn't have even a good time or go into the Crucible without feeling sweaty if you didn't have a Graviton or if you didn't have a Vigilance Wing. And so that's where the Crucible needed to be. Yep. And so now that's what the norm is.
I think the reason why I give it a strong appreciation is because, first off, when I looked up about it, because I really liked it, but I wanted to make sure it was something useful for PvP, they say aim for the crotch when you're doing mid to high range, because if you headshot with the second shot, it will send off a third shot, I believe. And having a third, equal damage shot when it's supposed to be doing 2 for the same amount of damage, that's 50% more power right there. And so I was like, I can shoot at the junk of my foes, and then that'll secure victory in my end. And I thought that was cool. Plus, it has a nice sound to it.
Yeah. So the Graviton Lance still is very it's very crispy. It feels good. I cannot speak to aiming for the crotch because that seems like a console thing, like a controller kind of issue.
Yes, I forgot PC versus console. I'm sorry
for the head.
Not about to start the entire debate, but then a whole bunch of things. Like I can adjust my own aim for the recoil, whereas it's not as easy on a controller. But yeah, no, it still feels good. Like the weapon still dominates in PvP. I just wish that with the new weapon system, people just experiment with newer weapons, especially with Forsaken. But people are still sticking with older weapons, and to some extent, I can understand because random rolls are a thing now, so they need to find good weapons to use. But yeah.
Those two, Whisper? One was Whisper, one was Sleeper, right? Aren't those two really big ones in Crucible right now?
Whisper and Sleeper, no. Whisper, well, Sleeper, yes, but Whisper's okay in PvP, but it's a PvE machine. You get 3 critical shots, and then it reloads your magazine from magic. Like, it doesn't pull from reserves.
Oh, fun.
So as long as you hit the boss 3 times in the head, you get 3 more shots. And so it's basically a DPS machine.
All right, fair enough. Now, Nick, I'd like to apologize. You asked me a question earlier. I've already forgotten it. Do you want to repose it to me?
How do you feel about the story of Forsaken so far as compared to Warmind, Curse of Osiris, and base game? I know you only said you're only an hour and a half into it, but how do you feel about it already so far?
Well, in comparison to the other 3, which would be Vanilla, Osiris, and then Warmind, in terms of a strong intro, because I really felt like Warmind and Osiris didn't have the strongest of intros. It was more like, let's give you a cutscene to show you what's going on and then throw you into it. Whereas in Vanilla, you were a part of the conflict and the cutscenes, and obviously all the way to the point where Gaul takes over the Traveler and all that. It's like, oh, I am a part of this issue, and I'm going to take care of it. And they did something similar here. It's like, oh, you're just going to la-di-da-di-da into this prison and make sure everybody's straight and all that stuff. And then obviously serious crap really, really happens. And the fact that they have me as the player invested into the story almost immediately as a part of the problem, or I guess in this case, hopefully the solution. I like the idea that I'm feeling really involved into the storyline where I haven't felt like that in Warmind or Osiris so far. Personally, I was kind of upset because I actually didn't know up until people have told me straight up about Cade. Apparently this was not, it was technically a spoiler, but they made it very clear before I even dropped it, like, hey, he's gone. Kiss his butt goodbye. And it was really upsetting. And quite frankly, I would love to kill Sav right now. Like, he gives me that feeling. It's like, man, I could blow this guy's brains out and feel some enjoyment
give him
out of
to
it.
The darkness.
Yep.
The name of Osiris, the final boss, was Properties or something like that?
Panoptes.
Yeah. You're like, okay, cool. He's an AI that doesn't like me there. I don't feel invested in murdering him. And then it's like, Zol, sure, okay. He's a giant worm that just appeared at the last end of the game. It's like, oh, we need to actually have them kill somebody. Let's put Zol in, the world worm
during Warmind, I actually felt like I skipped a mission or something because I suddenly went from investigating one thing to all of a sudden everybody's talking about Zol. Like it's something I should really know about. And I felt like there was a skip there or it was just bad writing or something where I was like, wait, why are we here now? And why is there
bad writing?
Okay.
Yeah, no, there's plenty of references to the worm gods in Destiny 1, but not even through the campaign.
Yeah.
Mostly through in-game lore.
Right.
In Warmind specifically, it started off of this lady's trying to investigate her past after before she turned into a guardian, and sure as heck, hey, look, she's she was in charge of one of the biggest weapons in mankind's history, and so it turned into let's see if we can turn this on, turn the tides in her favor, as Cam said. And all of a sudden, Daddy Zavala just appears out of nowhere and says, "You shouldn't be here. I'm going to give you an emotional moral crisis." And the girl's like, "I'm going to give you an opposing moral crisis." And Zavala's like, "By the way, shouldn't you be attacking that Zol guy?" And it's like, the who?
Yeah, I was like, what? Huh?
I was like, so they pushed me towards Zol. I'm like, did he kill my father or something? Like, give me some kind of attachment. Did he pee on my dog's grave?
Really quick and very briefly and very vaguely.
Zol's a hive god, right?
Zol is one of the 5 hive gods, but he's the smallest and the youngest, as far as I believe. And I can't remember why he was split up from the rest of the hive gods. But his priest, the necromancer Nokris, who you fight in one of the missions, and it also becomes a strike, was one of Oryx's children. Okay. Now, Oryx was the Taken King.
Yes.
But apparently to him, Nokris didn't exist because of his interest in necromancy that the Hive apparently don't care for, despite being able to summon gods. Anyways, Nokris and Zol teamed up to do whatever. I believe they attacked Rasputin, and in defense, Rasputin flash froze the area around him. Okay. And now it's starting to melt, and that's why Zol's awakening again. Oh, okay. And that's why you fight.
They did a fantastic job, like one of the best, not explaining that.
Yeah.
And so good for them. So far, it feels like when it comes to Forsaken, I'm on the up and up of what I should be knowing and what they want to let me know in terms of the story. Now, obviously, if there's twist or hidden information that I don't, random twist, midway through the game and whatnot that I don't know, that's okay. That's part of the storyline. But it feels like anything that they want me to know, they've been direct and able to feed me personally. Now, hopefully, for you guys who have beaten the game, does that trend continue? Does it feel like you're well aware what's going on?
I think early on, one thing that is important is not to talk about endgame stuff at all. But I think early on, it is important to know that I feel like you do need a working knowledge of Destiny 1 because you need to understand the Reef and Marasov and all of that, I think, to get what's going on in Forsaken. Or else you're like, wait, what's the Prison of Elders?
To completely understand, but I think for
core concepts.
The core, at least like the background concepts to completely understand who Sov was, because I hated him from the beginning.
Welcome to the Nightclub Show, where things may be not safe for work. If you have children around, you might want to hold off. Don't worry though, we will be waiting for you.
He was introduced, and we only saw him for maybe, I want to say all of like 2 or 3 minutes on screen in Destiny 1, but I hated him from the beginning. He was this edgy, rat bastard looking motherfucker just hanging around, and I couldn't fucking stand him from the very beginning. He was introduced in Destiny 1. But Marasov can get it. That's all this.
Okay. So I think it's important to kind of know who she is and the Reef situation too before you get into Forsaken.
Now, Marasov, was she the queen?
Yes.
Okay.
Marasov was the queen of the Reef.
She's alive technically at some point in the story, then I presume, at least then, right?
Or she disappears, is what I read. She disappears fighting Oryx, right?
I can answer this question depending on how much Tyler wants me to spoil or reveal.
I mean, in terms of the setup,
in terms of the setup, she.
So in terms of setup, she died. Okay. She's dead. The queen, the awoken queen, is dead.
Okay, and so that leaves then Mr. Sov and his sister to pick up the pieces to handle. I guess I haven't gotten far enough. Like, I saw your stream, Nick, so I know that him and her are teaming up to do something a little bit more malicious, I guess you could say, than whatever Miss Marasov, Queen Lady, was doing. So I haven't gotten that far to see what's going on there. I'm actually kind of interested in the fact that I feel like I got hit with I would personally say a World of Warcraft vibe for Legion, that they show all the lieutenants at the beginning of the game. but I think it's more comparable to Mega Man, to having all the bad guys drop down there and it's like, yeah, look at me, I think cool.
Forsaken as a whole, and people have talked about this, I really feel a strong Western influence. It's definitely a space Western. That's the idea. So it shows like it's like all the different lieutenants, they have their own names and taglines.
I haven't gotten that far yet. I was hoping they'd do that.
Yeah, no, it's a Western, full on.
Because in like World of Warcraft, not to bring it back into there, when they introduced the Iron Horde, it shows each of the generals, and it'll show this person's name and who they're the leader of the clan of this one. Did they do something like that each time we meet each of the lieutenant like figures, or?
Not each time, no. But each Baron has their own unique interactions.
Yeah.
And honestly, like me and my buddy played through it, and we were like pretty over leveled for the level of those missions, but we had a ton of fun regardless.
Yeah.
Like each level was pretty unique, and we haven't had that in a long time. There's one strike that's fantastic. Like I can go on and they make a lot of references to D1 again, and it makes me happy.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, they felt as a whole, I think that was probably one of the most fun points, is actually going around to the lieutenants and doing that sort of thing, because all, as you said, are very unique, and they even introduced some mechanics that you haven't seen much of or before, because sometimes you'll run into the end bosses, right, and they'll just be like, pick up the thing over here and then put it over here, and that way you can unlock it so you can shoot it with the big guns. Right. But this is a little different. They do some different things.
Yeah. And I will also quickly say, everybody, I think all three of us would have had experience with this. Nathan Fillion. I love Nathan Fillion. He's the voice actor for Cade 6. But they couldn't keep him on for this expansion.
Yeah.
So Nolan North, the voice of your Ghost, honestly, did a fantastic job for the most part of it. There's certain things like the intonations and maybe like the depth of his voice that there's really not much you can do about that. But he did a great job for how much ever they recorded. And I just wanted to say that.
Okay, cool. I look forward to maybe not having as much as an in-depth discussion, but I do think that we should give it a good part as we figure out what we're going to be doing for the future raid.
I do actually want to say really quick, one thing I do like about Forsaken, having just played through all of the other expansions and base game, is that I felt like all the other expansions, I pretty much was done with everything in a second. So it's funny, I picked this thing up less than a week ago, and I was done. And I was done. Because Osiris and Warminder is like, okay, do the story missions. There's like a couple strikes, like maybe a raid or something like that, and the adventures, but there's still a lot to do in Forsaken. Like I'm done with the story, but I'm nowhere near finished.
Nope.
So, yeah. I am at max level though, so that's fun.
Cool. Awesome. Now I just realized earlier, like I think today, that the max cap is now 50. So
yeah.
I kept telling my friend it was like 40 or 45.
I thought it was 40. Yeah.
That is a heck of a jump,
Well, the level cap is it's been kind of like, whatever, it just bothers you while you're leveling up to like not be able to equip weapons. But it's the power level that took a big jump from 385 to 600.
Does it bother you that you have to say power level now instead of light level?
Very much. I still say light level. I'm saying power level to be like politically correct, or I'm not politically correct, but technically correct. That's the term. Yeah. No, I still call it light level. We still all say light level. I've never said power level in like a regular conversation.
I think the thing that's really funny, and the thing that does get me, is imagine if you were at endgame for months, right, waiting for this expansion, like you were, Nick, where you have all your end gear, like Warmind level stuff at like 380, 385 or whatever, and then you just, you like swander on into Forsaken, and just blues are dropping at 400, and you're just like, well, this is my life now. Like,
no, I love it. I love it because it's hard to get
all that stuff you put time into. That's what gets me, is like all those items that I would have put shaders on, and all those items I would have like infused up, and now they're just like, now they're useless.
No, they're not. They're still. I mean, I know what you're saying, but like, I don't care. Like, it's a chance to find new weapons, new gear, to go through the power struggle again, to feel like I need to work my ass off to actually get through certain lost sectors, missions, story missions. No, I'm excited. I'm always up for a challenge.
Oh boy. Can't wait, guys. So I do believe that's going to be our Destiny talk for this episode. Let's head on over to the next section where instead of being in misery, we're going to put one person in particular in misery.
Sounds good.
With a like maybe 50% misery coming my way because I can't save him.
I've been waiting all week for this.
I have been waiting all hour and a half for this. About 10 minutes before the the actual podcast started. So let's see what we got going on here. For those who don't know, we have what is called the Nick Switch Initiative, a challenge for Nick where we're going to give him a bunch of questions, 5 questions each day, or not each day, each week. Oh God, each day that'd be a nightmare. About Nintendo related, trivia knowledge in hopes of getting him the funds needed so he can purchase his own Nintendo Switch, and so he can enjoy the fruits of his own labor, essentially.
It's true.
Play, Zelda or something cool like that. And the topic this week is what, Cam?
It is Fire Emblem.
It is, in fact, Fire Emblem.
See, now we've always, I don't really have much knowledge about Nintendo franchises except for Pokemon, but Fire Emblem, I just know nothing about.
That's fine, because Fire Emblem was not big over here until recently, and that's a hint for an answer, so...
Okay, so let's do this. Let's start this, and let's begin the Nick Switch Initiative. Dun,
All right. As always, you have 2 calls over to Tyler if you do want some assistance, and he can tell you if he can help or not before you actually waste that. I have 5 questions for you here, as well as a difficult bonus question if you want to challenge that as well at the end, one way or the other. And yes, I think we'll go through this. No particular order. These things are very out of order in terms of timeline, so don't think I'm sticking any sort of timeline. Okay. If you have any questions, feel free to ask for clarification. Okay.
And
first off,
I would like to clarify that all these questions and the solutions to them were all derived from the Wikipedia that focuses on Fire Emblems, correct?
Yes, it was. And just as always, just to let you guys know as well, whenever I'm making a quiz, I only put questions that I already knew, not something I just looked up. Okay. So I don't want to, so I'm not making it ridiculously difficult or anything like that. But I think this is very fair. You asked for half of the power of the midterm, so I think this respects your intelligence, but ask some tough questions.
So Super Saiyan 2, not Super Saiyan God. Thank you.
So let's start off easy. Let's start off easy. Nintendo publishes Fire Emblem, but what company develops Fire Emblem?
Damn it! I know this.
I know the name, but I'm sure I'm gonna get dinged on the fact that I think it's plural instead of singular. So,
I won't ding you on that.
Okay.
I'm wondering if I should just take the hit.
I mean, that's on you, man.
I did say this was an easy question.
I know, but I can't remember the name. I suck with names, as we've learned.
True. Although, if Tyler does have an idea, it might be a good time to use this.
That's what I'm thinking.
I will definitely put you on what I believe to be the right track. I'm 60% sure in the right direction.
No, I think I'm going to take the hit.
Okay.
Do you mind if I give it a shot then?
Sure.
I know it's, I believe, intelligent or intelligence. Was it like Intelligent Systems or Intelligent Games?
Intelligent Systems, also the creators of Advance Wars.
Okay. Yep. And some other popular game way back then. But
just more hint stuff. Intelligent System, not hint stuff, but just some background knowledge. Intelligent Systems is not a Nintendo-owned company, but it is considered second party by a lot of people because their headquarters used to be in Nintendo's research department.
Oh, okay.
And they
if
only
you're
make
that far
Nintendo
to
games.
the prison, are you not Nintendo?
They've never made a game on a non-Nintendo system, so they're pretty much a Nintendo company. All right, let's see. Moving on here. Fire Emblem Echoes Shadows of Valentia, coming out in 2017, is a remake of which game in the series?
Coming out in 2017?
Sorry, came out in 2017. So Fire Emblem Echoes Shadows of Valentia came out in 2017, and it is a remake of which game in the Fire Emblem series?
Okay, so we know there's 13 games that came out. Actually, I shouldn't be trying to help you. I'm sorry, backing out.
Wow.
15 and 3 spin-offs, I think, right?
Yeah.
No,
right.
12 and 3 15 and 3 spin-offs?
I think it's 15 if you count.
Remakes.
Okay. It's 15 if you count something that we'll talk about later.
Right.
Sorry.
Fire Emblem Shadows of Valentia.
Yep.
It came out on the Wii, I think.
Came out on the Shadows of Valentia came out on the 3DS in 2017. I'm asking you, what game was it a remake of?
Yeah, I don't know this one either.
Ooh,
my glasses do not shine as strongly. I could give you maybe loose information, but it wouldn't be anything for you to grasp a good solid title.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna pass on this one
right.
too.
The answer was a remake of Fire Emblem Gaiden, the second game in the series. For
yeah, I definitely wouldn't have gotten that.
I was trying to remember. Valentia, I believe, was a world for 2 games. Do you remember what the second one is, or is that a question or something?
I know. I'm not sure. So hold on. So if it's Valentia was, I know that's not one. I don't think it's one of the 2 big main continents it always takes place on. So Gaiden took place there. I don't remember the other one.
I mean, the only world I know specifically is Talius, which is Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn.
But
other than that,
Arcania and something else.
And hell, I think even in Fates, they don't even say what the world's called. It's just countries.
Nor in Hoshido, yeah. Okay, moving on. Third question. You still have chance here. You still have 3 more, as well as a bonus question.
Yep.
This Fire Emblem title is the most popular in the West and the most popular overall, selling over 1.79 million copies worldwide.
I don't know if that sound effect works or not, but
now you gotta go shing.
Oh, sorry, shing. I'm
Tyler.
like, oh, are you calling in on me for your one?
Yeah.
Okay. So obviously, I'm a big fan of Path of Radiance for the GameCube, but obviously that's probably not going to be the big one. The closest thing that I could possibly think of would be the one called Fire Emblem Awakening, which got huge sales, and it made a good return to the interest of Fire Emblem as a whole. Now, I don't know if Cam has like one that, you know, that secret sleeper hitter that made big sales but didn't get quite the notoriety that came with it, but I personally believe it would have been Fire Emblem Awakening for was it the DS or 3DS, Cam?
3DS.
Okay, that would make more sense. So that would be my answer.
Sorry, Nick, what is your answer?
I'm gonna go with Fire Emblem Awakening.
All right, that is correct. Good job.
I was nervous because Fire Emblem Fates would have been a close second. I would like to think,
as well.
but the split between having 2 different games that you would have to play separately, buy them both, and put them together for the third one, Revelations, I believe it's called. That would not have made the complete sales. I wouldn't have thought.
Yeah, and I don't think even together they beat the sales of Awakening. Like it was a really drop off because Awakening was such a big hit in 2013. Let's see. All right, so you got one there. You got 2 more here.
Yep.
So, going off that question, Nick, what was the first Fire Emblem game to be released in the West? I just want to. You don't need to do the Japanese name. I just want you to give me the name of the game and what year.
It's funny you should say that, Cam, because I understand what you mean by that. So my glasses are gonna flash wildly.
Oh, okay. We've got glasses flashing wildly, so I'm gonna. Tyler, do you wanna jump in here and help me out a little bit?
If you want to, the first game that came out. Could you repeat the question? That way I don't accidentally fall into a pit trap here.
I think you're falling into a pit trap. What is the first Fire Emblem game to be released in the West? And I just don't need the Japanese name, just the name and the year.
Okay. Oh, and the year?
Yep.
Oh. Glasses unchained then.
It's me too, otherwise.
Well, we know that Martha and Roy came out for the Super Smash Brothers. Technically, I assume that you wouldn't want to count that as the first Fire Emblem presence, Cam?
No, that's not a Fire Emblem game.
Okay. So that stirred up a huge amount of interest for the Western, and I do believe one of the first games that came out, the first one that came out in Japan, I believe, was called Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light, and I do believe it eventually got a port simply called either Shadow Dragon or I think it was just called Shadow Dragon. However, the first one that came out, I believe, was just simply called Fire Emblem, because they originally had a fancy name for it, but when they released it in the US, they didn't want to confuse the people with a bunch of names, and they simply called it Fire Emblem. However, I don't know the year whatsoever. If it was after Super Smash Bros., that would have been Super Smash Bros. Melee specifically, I would like to state. So
it went from the Famicom to the Super Famicom to the Game Boy Advance. I can tell you that. So
and I'll give you a hint. I'll give you a hint, and then say also that 2001 was Melee, or it's post 2001.
So I really want to say 2003, Tyler. I feel like.
I mean, the first game that I can think of that came out in 2003 would have been Path of Radiance. That's around the same time frame that Fire Emblem Path of Radiance, but I believe they would have released a Western game before that, like on the Game Boy Advance or something like that.
So then 2002, because 2003 was like post 2003 was when sales started to decline, or 2004.
And most of the games that they started to do the remakes in, I believe, eventually started.
I'm going to give you guys a hint. Path of Radiance was 2005.
Okay.
So you said Fire Emblem, Tyler? Is that what you believe is just
Tyler
called?
said it was called Fire Emblem.
Yeah.
And Nick, what's the year?
So I'm gonna go with that, Fire Emblem, and I think the year is 2003.
Good job, Nick. You got it.
Holy crap! I was right.
That's why I wanted to get you off that train, because I'm like, no, Path of Radiance was much later.
Well, you were talking. Well, I thought you meant Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light, and you're like,
Shadow Dragon is a DS game in the West.
In the West, it came out as just Shadow Dragon, but originally it had come out as Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light. So I was thrown off. It's like maybe it was that, but then I was like, well, no, DS is kind of Then I started panicking and backing up right there. That was a good save on near the end there, Nick. Good job, man. So that means I got to back off from now on.
That's okay. This last question is very doable, I feel. So you might have this in the bag. What decade did the first Fire Emblem game release in?
Well, it came out on the Famicom. So I want to say the 1990s.
Work with your. Well, if you're saying like
no, it's fine. I'm gonna say the 1990s.
Okay, you are correct, and funny enough, I feel like for maybe the wrong reasons, because when I think Famicom, 1990s is not what you should have thought.
Yeah, you would have been like 80s.
See, 90s specifically.
The only reason I said 1990s was because there were two games that came out for the Famicom, and we're talking about a time when games came out pretty much like almost year after year.
Yeah.
And so there was just the two games, and then they moved on directly to the Super Famicom, so it must have been at the tail end of the Famicom's life.
Oh, I see what you're going for. Okay, that's smart. That was smart.
It worked out. Look at you. Your own glasses started shining.
All right. So, hey, Nick, that's 3, but if you want, I got a challenge question for you.
Let's try it.
Yep. Okay, so there's a game, and forgive me my name here, but I'll do I think it's the full name. All right, so there's a game called BS Fire Emblem Arcania Senki Hen, I believe.
Yes, it was some wild Japanese name that I have no reference
name
to.
Like that. No. And my question to you as a challenge question is, that Fire Emblem game came out specifically for what weird peripheral? It's not on a system itself necessarily, but can only be gained through the use of a weird peripheral. And I'm asking you, what is the name of that thing?
And I do know this, the answer to this one, but obviously that wouldn't.
Yeah, I want Nick to get me this one.
This would be the same peripheral that would have done BS Zelda, correct?
I think so, actually, yeah.
Because of the way it functioned.
Mm-hmm.
Peripherals. I'm thinking of not the right peripherals. So
it's not a Nintendo-based peripheral. Just strongly emphasize on this one, but hey.
I mean, you could say it's Nintendo-based.
Yeah, okay.
I'll give you a hint and say it plugs into the Super Famicom.
Okay. Sure, if you want to call it that.
I mean, anything will plug into the Super Famicom if you try hard enough.
Oh boy.
Do you have anything here, Nick?
No, nothing.
Okay, so the answer is Satellaview. The other thing, though, I did have one more that I was thinking of just for funsies, and this is a fun one. So, Fire Emblem Awakening, as a game, in the core concept of the game, right? It has you going through the game, you make relationships, you have kids, and you get to play as those kids as well. There's another earlier Fire Emblem game that has a similar mechanic about the, having children and being able to play as them in later generations. Do you happen to know what that game is?
Why would he know?
Probably
I will play as his lawyer now.
Well, there's a hint in the name of it. This is a deep reach. This is a super challenge question, but there's a hint to this in the name of the game.
Oh.
Yeah. Have you heard of the game Fire Emblem? You play as the sun.
There was a one game called something.
Yeah.
Something with the Holy War.
He's almost got it.
Shit. What's that word? It's a long, complicated English word.
I'll just give it to you. It's Genealogy of the Holy War.
Genealogy of the Holy War.
Which I believe is the third game in the series.
The only reason I vaguely even remember that was because it's a fucking weird name for like any kind of game to have. Yep. Like, why would you have like a Genealogy of the Holy War? Like, what's?
I'd say half point for that one though.
Fingers crossed on that one too, though. Fingers crossed, because we got remakes for the original, we got remake for Gaiden, so hopefully we get a remake for Genealogy of the Holy War. That's what I'm hoping. All right, so you did it, Nick. Good job.
Yeah, good job, dude.
Yeah. Making sure you're always scraped by the there.
That's the only way I pass college nowadays. Just getting under 60% and I'm done and dusted.
You ask your TA to come help you with the midterms halfway through the...
Not even. I just give them a sub story and make up something, and then they just give me a pass on an assignment that I didn't do because I just didn't want to do. So
Yes.
There was actually one time where, funny enough, in a class, it might have just been I garnered enough favor to actually pull this off or something. I don't know how I did it, but I never have missed an assignment. I always got very, very good grades in college. But there was one assignment that was a community service assignment that actually made it so I had to go in the city and find somebody to do community service with, and I just didn't do it, and it just never showed up on the grade. Never ever.
Man.
It was a fifth of the grade, never showed up.
So you're telling me your degree's a sham? Hello.
Might be. I think I curried enough favor throughout my years in that department that they kind of overlooked it or something. Or you know what they probably thought? They probably thought, oh no, Cam must have done it. I just forgot it, or I lost it or something, and I don't want to, I'm embarrassed, so I'm not going to ask him.
There was a time where, I believe it was during middle school, we had a program called Helping Hands, where we encouraged these students to skip school and join a part of this program to go do some volunteer service. Ooh. So once a week, I was a part of this program, and because I wanted the community service that benefit my grades or something like that. Yep. It's kind of like extra credit of sorts. I joined this team and went to a local daycare center. And I like to think myself great with children. I'm wrong, but I like to delude myself with the thought. And so I'd play with the kids, have fun with them, toss the ball with them. And there's no rough insinuation or whatever you want to call that with that. However, I was actually a danger to the daycare's insurance policy because being the clumsy oaf that I would often accidentally break stuff that was intended for children. For example, you imagine the giant wooden structure that had the climb up with the rope or something like that, and then you had to slide down. I, of course, decided to join them as a hulking, 14-year-old figure that was 200 pounds trying to climb with the kids and just completely ripped the bottom half of this entire rope system that led up there.
Where was the self-awareness?
I realized eventually, this is not designed for somebody that was a young adult at this point. So they stopped having me come, but they gave me full credit anyways because they realized I was a danger and I was costing them more money than they were saving as an entertainer. So, yes, that's my story for community service.
Wonderful.
Yes. Okay, so that was the Nick Switch initiative. Good job, Nick. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And hopefully we can... do we want to discuss what we want to do for next week, or should we save that for after the show as a mystery?
We'll save that for after.
Yeah.
I like that because, I'm sure people would like to know beforehand themselves, but let's surprise them. Let's throw them a curveball.
I think it's better that we don't, because if people want to follow along and see if they can answer the questions themselves, any dear listeners, they don't have the prep time, so they can answer truly from their own knowledge. That's the fun part.
And plus, what usually happens whenever we discuss this, Cam will suggest something about mobile handheld games. I'll say that's horrible because that's a vicious idea. I'll name some easy weeaboo thing for me, him to pick. That's easy curveball. And then Nick just says, give me the hardest thing you could possibly think of because I'm crazy. And then that takes 5-10 minutes. Let's
it's free money. Might as well work for it, right?
Yeah. No, I agree.
I would like to think that time is money. So you spend the time for it. You've earned it.
Oh, and I enjoy spending the time. So
I do believe with the $20, it puts you from $175 to $195. So you're just short of $200 now.
So that's $1 million Canadian dollars.
Yeah, just about.
Yeah, something like that.
Rough conversion.
Think of all the poutine you can buy with that.
Oh my gosh, that's a lot of poutine. That's so much gravy.
Yep.
Anyways, let's go over to the topic of the show since we're going to skirt news topics. I like this idea, by the way. Topic of the show. Nick, I would like you to take this one since you're the primary expert and also local Canadian personnel of this area. I was going to say another word that could have some poor suggestions. The word citizen. I'm sorry.
Not yet.
Not yet. I was say I was ooh, that might be salt in the wound.
Yeah.
I'll shut up now. Tell me about it.
Even as a resident, I get treated better. But anyways, XDS 18. It's the External Developer Summit. 18, not 18 times now. This is 2018. It happened for 6th year in a row here in Vancouver, BC, Canada. Because there's Vancouver, Washington. Just make that distinction clear.
You're right.
Yeah. So it's a video game conference that focuses on the development of video games specifically. So it talks about different studios, developers working with external partners on developing graphical assets, or porting games over, or just handling some of the coding and talking about graphical assets, sound assets, just basically everything that involves in getting the video game together. So unlike E3 or PAX, it's not about showcasing video games necessarily. They'll use examples that the studio has worked on to just build up their resume, because it is also a chance, a networking chance for other partners to showcase that what work they've done with other big developers, and try and meet new developers or make relationships with other partners. So I was a volunteer, and it was mostly just manual labor, because it is a small organization that manages and runs the event, and it's a smallish event. I would estimate about maybe 2,000 people over the 3 days. I sat in on 2 conferences, one
Nice.
about user interface, and it was a guy from Sony. I can't remember name, so this is the one thing that I wish I was a little bit better at. But
was he like really big Sony name, or what?
I
Do you know what
no,
studio
so
he was
as
under?
it is, I don't know any Sony names, but
Okay.
he was about a little taller than me, and he had really long hair.
Okay,
That's all I can tell you.
Yeah.
But anyways, I don't even remember what he did at Sony. All I know is just they're talking from Sony's point of view. But they were talking about their partnership with a guy who has a VFX company that does VFX, so visual effects for movies and video games. And they were talking about how not that it's never been like this or that it's a new thing, but how it's even more important to recognize how movie visual effects and video game visual effects are sort of blending even more so. And they were using Ready Player One as an example.
There's a good joke in there. There's a good joke in there about movie games.
They don't work. They never work. But like graphically, you can't deny that some of them actually have put the work in and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I got a
And-
name I could pitch at you, and you tell me if it sounds familiar.
Okay.
Simon Basto.
No.
He's the manager of video production / a producer from Sony PlayStation.
I can see the website in your glasses reflection, Tyler.
Oh, is that good or bad?
No, just to say.
What's his name? Simon?
Simon, Bastow. So Bastow.
I actually think that's it. Yeah, no, that is him. Simon Bastow. Good job,
And-
Tyler.
I'm gonna say, you said person with long hair. He's the only person that has hair more than like a millimeter that I can see right here.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to make sure, give him credit where credit is due.
Yeah, so Simon Bastow. And that was an interesting sort of talk. It wasn't super technical. It was just talking about their process and their ideology between Sony and this other studio. And so that was one. And then the other one was actually by the Coalition.
Oh,
Now, so the Coalition, they make Gears of War currently. It used to be Epic Games and Microsoft, and now it's the Coalition, and it's a core group of people that came over from Epic Games. And they were talking, this was a purely technical talk. They have partners in Northern Europe or Northwestern Europe, in India, Australia, and China. And they're talking about how they coordinate, or how their back-end systems are set up to coordinate managing and making sure that graphical assets and just the code and the game itself was available for everybody. Because even a small change can be up to like 40 to 50 gigabytes of changes that they have to push into the system. So they were talking, it was very technical and really a little bit dry, but it was interesting nonetheless to see how much effort actually goes into working with people across the globe. And I had no idea I was going to be sitting in on the Coalition's talk. All I know is that the next presentation was starting after the UI presentation, and then the Gears of War 5 trailer comes on, and I lost my fucking mind. And then I realized that the Coalition actually has their main office in Vancouver, BC.
Oh yeah.
And they were just right across the street from the hotel I was at. And so I actually got to talk to, so his name was Phil Cousins.
Yes.
Phil Cousins, and I got to talk to him about, basically I just said thank you, because Gears of War 4 felt like Gears of War. All right, and it's not often that you get to show your appreciation for people who actually make the game, right?
Yep.
Because it's usually the one person who's like the face of the video game or the development team that's out there. But here I was meeting the actual like IT team behind it, right?
Yeah.
And then I was talking to them, and then he said, it's funny. It was a challenge for us because with the Gears of War game, people don't want anything to change, but something also has to be different. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's and there was a lady standing with us, and the guy Phil pointed over to her and it's like, it's the same kind of issue that you deal with, and I hadn't introduced myself to her yet, and I'm like, oh, that's very much like the Halo franchise. The lady goes, I work for 343, and I lost my fucking mind.
Oh man!
And I was like, holy shit, what even is happening? I just signed up as a student volunteer, and I got to meet people from franchises that I absolutely adore. And otherwise, it was just a really big networking event, more of like a party. It wasn't like super serious. It was really fun. They had an award that they gave out on the last day based on who danced the best at the previous, like the party last night.
Oh, good.
So it was really fun, and it was an experience. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Is there like any other people of note that you can think of that you might have you had a chance to meet?
Not meet personally, but there were a lot of people there. There were also a bunch of like really, like, there was an Indian company that was there. I can't remember I'm sure if
I'm looking at a list right now of all the people in terms of Indian company that I might, maybe Navitron Limited.
No, not Navitron Limited. They started with a D. But they worked on Spider-Man. Apparently, they did some assets for Spider-Man, like that just came out. There was a Chinese-based company that came out, and they did work for Killzone and PUBG. There was a Brazilian company. So, like, one of the greatest, the best things about this event was seeing representation in terms of people of color. To like avoid pushing too far into like a political topic. It was just nice to see that, because there's no representation of people who actually work in the industry a lot, and there's just in general, like when you go to like conferences or you think about PAX or E3, you really only just see the face. You'll see God Howard, you'll see just the faces of the company, but you won't see people who actually work in the field.
The actual backbone of the company,
like the actual and people who want to be video game developers or who actually want to get into this industry have nobody to look up to, because we don't, like, I'm the prime example of that in terms of not knowing people's names. Right, like I can tell you who Todd Howard is, but I couldn't tell you who the lead engineer of this engine that they use for making the game is. Right, and it's not that, and I don't want to take any importance away from anybody, but there has to be role models in certain roles, at least one or two, so that people can have like a goal to work towards. And I feel like this should be the case for every industry all throughout. And so it's just nice to see that.
Yeah, and there are a couple of people currently who aren't just PR guys, but were also developers as well, who are the big names that we know about. Cases, of course, being, Miyamoto, Satoru Iwata, who passed away. Those people
Nintendo,
who actually did and were developers, Todd Howard as well, did actually develop the games personally. So there are still some people out there among the big names, but a lot of them are just the PR guys.
I was going to say that Nintendo does a very good job of making celebrities out of people that were the developers of the games. Now, obviously, they're not just developers anymore. They're further up the chain, but, that wasn't them back in the day. They were the people actually making the games, and Nintendo was like, this guy, look at this guy, this person, man, put him on a pedestal. Oh, man, he is so cool. And not many other companies ever do something like that.
And I'm sure that, and I would like to hope at least that the company themselves give these people credit and enough, recognition, credit they deserve. But I'm talking more about, and the public,
from public
view. Yeah, and it's not, and it's just nice to see that this is slowly picking up. And I talked to the producers of the event, the organizers of the event. They said it's been getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's let's see what happens. Maybe I'll be volunteering again next year.
Yeah, it was funny, actually, just to talk about Tyler's point real quick about the Nintendo thing, because it's something I've talked about before, where Nintendo's really, really good at pushing their big people forward and saying, like, here's our big shiny people. But a lot of the other companies are not like that. Like, I remember we actually got a question posed to us on my other podcast about what are some other big names in the industry besides your Satoru Iwata that really influenced the industry like a huge amount in the console industry. And I thought about it for a while, and I was like, man, like, I can name, I think, the architect of the original Xbox and the PS1, maybe, but that's about it. And I was thinking, and I was like it's really hard. It's really hard to get the name behind a lot of those endeavors, because realistically, I think that we should know, like, some of our most popular franchises, right? We know, of course, who's behind Zelda, who was behind Pokemon, we know that, but we don't know necessarily have many people knowing, who was the person behind Halo, right?
And why do you think that is? Like, just in hindsight,
Nintendo pushes their people forward a lot, but there's also a heavy Nintendo bias in terms of just right now we're in a Nintendo bias because everybody who's doing podcasting, everyone who's doing reporting grew up on Nintendo games. But there eventually will be a future where that might be a little different, because we'll eventually get to a future where Nintendo wasn't the most popular and all the people doing the reporting and all the people doing that sort of thing grew up on Sony games. And that will be a transition that will happen at some point. So we might see a change then, but
I wonder if some developers don't want to be 100% tied to a game, as you know, on the public front, just in case maybe the game doesn't do as successfully as they hope. Now, obviously, if the game does fantastic, they want to make sure, hey, I did that.
Yeah.
But if they were, say, the artistic developer behind The Last Guardian, and The Last Guardian got so much flack, even though it wasn't even their fault. Do they want to try to make themselves a celebrity out of that? Now, it's kind of like a cold side case the way I'm putting it like that, but I'm worried that, I mean, obviously they want to be tied to their successes, but they're obviously going to be a little bit more hesitant if it's tied to something that's going to be a commercial failure.
And it's also the case, though, with Nintendo, just to talk about that more, I think it's also the case that Nintendo tends to keep their directors around. So while other game series, a lot of Western game series will shift directors, God of War being an example. I think God of War had 3 or 4 different directors along its span. And the one we know, I think, is Cory Barlog did 4 and 1, or maybe 4 and 2, I want to say. But there were still 3 other guys in there as well. So that's one of the things too, is there's not necessarily one name you can attribute to the whole series, because they shifted around developers and shifted around directors so much.
Yeah, so I think a big part of it is, at least in the West, marketing overshadows, like completely just blots out like names, because it's about selling and getting the units out there.
Marketing blots out games.
But marketing blots out games completely. Like,
it even blocks out the games.
To the extent where the games that they talk about in the marketing they don't even exist. And from just hearing about it, I want to say with Nintendo particularly, it could be a motivational thing, right? If you it's like a reward system in any game too. You give people a goal to aspire to, and you keep up morale, right? And then when you get to that point, when you've done something that you can be proud of and the company can be proud of, maybe you will also be celebrated in that way.
Yep.
Right.
I'd like to point out there's also a case where a company kind of did that, or rather the developer did, and it completely backfired on everybody. And that would be Mr. Hideo Kojima and Konami in this case, I believe.
Okay, yeah, but we're talking about humans, not aliens.
Yeah,
we're talking,
backfired on Konami, not Kojima.
I say Kojima's doing moderately well.
Fine,
last I checked, he had a net value of 23 million, which as a developer / producer, that's typically unheard of. But he managed to get himself into the level of a celebrity that most developers would dream of trying to get into that position, and I feel like Konami did not appreciate that.
I think a lot of Japanese game developers as well. I know some of them treat it like a Rockstar position, and not like Rockstar the company, but being a Rockstar. Because if I think about Japanese series, the names just come to mind. So like Resident Evil is, I think, Shinji Mikami. Hideki Kamiya worked on Devil May Cry and is over at Platinum right now. All the auteurs, I think they're called, that like focus on these series as a whole. Yoko Taro with Drakengard and Nier, Kojima being one of them, Inafune, another one being what's it called, our friends, hold on,
name the game,
that one. I just had it and then it escaped me. I did Taro, I did Kamiya,
Are you afraid you're gonna like spit on the graves or something if you don't name them?
No, because it was probably one of the bigger ones too.
How about one for Alice?
You got me with Inafune. I was going for it, but then Inafune is right. Yes. But people like that, right? People like that, where it's like, oh no, I got it. Tekken, Harada, he's the best example. Harada over at Tekken is the best example because he walks on stage and treats it like a Rockstar position, where he's wearing robes. He'll show up in fighting game tournaments and fight people himself. Like, he's just full on in it and treating it like it's a celebrity position. So we know a lot of them because they do treat it like look at me, I'm a bigwig. And I don't feel like we have many people in the West who do that. So
I think you're right. Honestly, I feel like the cultural difference between being a Japanese developer, being a Western developer, in terms of that kind of notoriety, is vastly different now that I think about it.
And I think it's also because there's in Japan, at least, they didn't treat it as a shame to be playing video games, regardless of the age you are, or like it wasn't like treated as a waste of time. Yeah. Whereas even in India, it's like, oh, you're playing video games. What are you going to do with your life, kind of thing.
Exactly.
Right? So there is some pride with even just video games, air quotes, quote unquote, being like a job, right? They took pride in what they were doing, and they were making entertainment for people.
And part of it too is that in Japan, generally Japanese work culture is you end up at a company, you stay there. If you're like, if things go well, if you don't get laid off, you're staying there your whole life. And that's another part of it too, which is that, we move around companies a lot in the West. So.
Oh yeah. I mean, we maybe not. I would like to think that we are more diverse in terms of how much we have to offer as different companies versus Japan. But okay. So is there any closing thoughts we want to give about XDS?
No, I think it's needed. It's a different kind of convention, and I would like to see it evolve to like a much bigger scale, just so people have some point of reference for when they're trying to decide what to do with their life. And then they're like, oh, look at this. I could be a video game developer, but I don't actually know what kind of work is involved with becoming a video game developer, or like what's my day-to-day as a video game developer, or what are the different roles. I could be like a production manager. I'm in charge of graphical assets. I'm in charge of IT. Like an IT guy at a video game company is not really different from an IT guy at any other kind of company.
Yeah.
Right. So.
Yeah, I think you're right, because if I could pick a developer conference versus let's say an E3 or an PAX, me personally, I would go for the developer conference. Now, I know that sounds weird, and if you told me the reasons why you should do otherwise, I'd totally respect it. However, honestly, if I had the pick, if I could shake the hand of, let's say, the CEO of Microsoft or something like that, or the head of Sony Computer Entertainment, I'd much rather shake the hand of, say, Jeff Gerstmann of Giant Bomb or something like that. I like the big names I know, and when it comes to video game media, they're very important, but I'm more interested in meeting the people that are behind the making of the game, and the people that talk about it, that try to get the information out to people. So if I could, shake a hand with the developer and try to get a better understanding behind the game versus the person that's, floating above the clouds and telling me how great this game is and how good they're doing, I would say that would be a better deal for me.
Yeah, I'm vibing with that, because when I've gone to PAX and things like that, right, it's very much like I'm in a position, and I think a lot of us are in this position at this point, when we're covering stuff like this, which is like, listen, you've already sold us on everything. You've already sold us the concept. You've already sold us the game. That's all said and done. We're in the industry. We're going to find it even if you don't advertise it to us. So let's just skip that talk and let's get to the technical stuff. Like when I was at PAX and stuff, it was nice because I got to talk to a bunch of actual developers. But again, it was difficult to get them to go deeper than the kind of the surface level, what you say to fans who don't know what they're talking about type stuff.
Right.
It's like, I want to get that.
You want to get the teraflops.
I do. I want to get the teraflops. And sometimes it's hard to get that point when you're at the mass conventions for everybody.
Because you don't know how much they're allowed to tell you first off. And then you don't know how much, you know personally. They don't know, like, once if I start speaking Greek to them almost immediately, I don't want to mess with that. But
right. It's more that, because like I wasn't asking questions they couldn't reveal or anything, but I'd rather be in a setting where the assumption is that we know what we're talking about, so we're talking at a more technical level.
Okay. All right. Anything else in your guys' end? Because I think that was a good wrap up for that.
Yeah, I'm all set.
Meet and love your developers, I would like to say also.
True.
And I believe a couple of weeks ago there was actually a Twitter movement where it was called, meet your developers, where developers are like, hey, I work for this game and I do this, and I tell you about it. And I was like, holy crap, that's cool.
Yep.
So something to look into if you can find it. See, game releases this week. We got 5 big names on here. Names are loose terms, but they're there. The first one coming out let's see, what is the actual date for that? I was going to say,
the real important thing is that Spider-Man came out yesterday.
Yes.
That's the...
Also, we were supposed to talk about Spider-Man, but that went out the window. I was supposed to buy it yesterday and play it. However,
Destiny happened.
But I wish I was kidding.
Yes.
Motherfucking Destiny happening.
Yes. I said I was going to play it, and I'm probably actually going to do that directly after this. So
okay, because I watched some playthrough of it, like from the beginning and whatnot, to see if I could maybe hype myself back into it. But at the same time, it's like, man, my power level could be going up right now.
Yes.
It was terrible.
I watched a 35-minute Digital Foundry analysis, so if you want to talk technical stuff about Spider-Man, I can do that. But
if you don't mind, I'm going to hold it off until next week just because of time frame.
Yeah.
Game releases this week, NBA 2K19, coming out on PS4, Xbox One, PC, and Switch. Don't get it for Switch, please. Coming out September 11th, which is actually, for the audio listeners, tomorrow. September 11th, never forget. Coming out on the 13th, 2 games. got Bastion and Wasteland 2 Director's Cut, both coming out from the Nintendo Switch.
Okay, so I was gonna say that's a port of Bastion for sure.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I hope it's supportive. I mean, if it's a different, form of Bastion, that'd be cool. I'm okay with that. This one, which is actually a sleeping giant to my end, because I love these games, but it's kind of went quiet in the front, like in the shadow of Spider-Man and Forsaken. Shadow of the Tomb Raider is coming out on the 14th, aka Friday, next Friday, PS4, Xbox One, and PC, which is interesting because last I checked, I know for the last deal, Microsoft had paid off Square Enix to get it exclusively for Xbox One and PC. It looks like it didn't quite come around this time around, so it's going to be coming out with everybody else for the PS4.
So you know what that means, actually? Not even, I feel like at this point, considering what we saw Microsoft do in terms of buying all the studios,
they're not invested.
I think they're not interested. Like, I don't think it was on the end of Tomb Raider didn't want to be an exclusive for a while. I think that Microsoft wasn't interested.
And also, I think specifically it was a world exclusive premiere during their conference, not an exclusive title.
Of course, world exclusive premiere.
Oh boy, that fun word. I thought that was going to stay in the grave.
But Lara Croft will finally become the Tomb Raider.
I'm going to have to agree with Tyler here. Putting aside like the issues with that, I have enjoyed the Tomb Raider reboots. So I'm excited for this whenever I get it.
I mean, it gives you the same vibe, and I know you probably haven't played any Uncharted games, but it gives you that same imaginings and joy that I get from being able to traverse, wild situations and gunning down people, stealthing them up, occasionally shooting a bear so you can turn its skin into a musket ball bag or something like that. And I mean, they kind of left you on a cliffhanger that you already knew, like based off of any Tomb Raider lore that you could retain. Like, oh no, there's somebody out there that's watching Lara. What could possibly happen? It's like, oh really? You're gonna make a third game, huh? Thank you for the little trail of crumbs that are like stale for about 5 years, but sure, I'll take it.
So just want to quickly say, like, the last two Tomb Raider games are the only games that I've ever actively tried to 100%. Because I just love exploring and solving puzzles, and the tombs that you find are fantastic. There are a couple of easy ones and some like really challenging ones, and I've always enjoyed that. The combat is whatever, it's nothing like spectacular, but it's not boring. But for me, it's just platforming.
I like as you said, the exploration, finding these cool like oh man, I could have totally never gone in here, but it's gonna 100% reward me with this amazing, unique experience in here about history I wouldn't have heard otherwise if I didn't take the initiative. So yes, that is coming out on the 14th, which is going to be Friday. Finally and lastly is going to be Light Fingers out from the Nintendo Switch on the same day. I have not heard of this game. Okay, Light Fingers is in the dark for us, so something to look forward to maybe.
I can tell you it's a game by Numismatic.
I see.
Numismatic, yeah.
Isn't Numez a shoe company? Or is that Zoomies?
Zoomies.
Oh, Zoomies, okay.
Clothing store.
All right.
In the US and Canada.
Okay, so well, you're talking about shoe companies, I start sweating heavily. I'm like, let's keep going. To wrap up plugs and housekeeping, you can email us at casualmasterquest@gmail.com, or you can hit us up on Twitter at MasterQuestPod. All the podcast and gaming can be found on our YouTube channel, which we'll link on our Twitter. Mostly my exports from my streaming. I did try to guilt trip Nick into doing it, but he hasn't learned how to export from Twitch just yet. Don't worry, I'll get you soon enough, my pretty. You can find me on Twitter at 2timestyler, or you can check me out. I stream on Twitch Tuesdays and Fridays now, 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock, most specifically Zelda games. However, if I ever get intoxicated, I'll probably play a horror game or something else for that matter, because Zelda games are great and all. Zelda is not for... Do you really want me to play at 30 frames a second though? Can you handle
from
that?
PS4 stream? I don't think you do.
I'm gonna say I mean I won't use the actual PS4 stream. I'd probably use my Elgato, but still, like, even if I turn off the I forgot what it's called, the protocol where it jumbles the encoding for the HDMI.
Oh yeah.
Or something like that, HDCP or something like that. I feel like it would try to screw me over in terms of recording that, and I don't think I would want to do that. I'd much rather watch you, Nick, because I know you like to stream Destiny too. By the way, twitch.tv/2timestyler. Nick, where can we find you?
Twitter and Instagram at LRWarrior11, and Twitch. I stream whenever I can. Twitch.tv/LRWarrior11. I should have a schedule up actually really soon because the first week of classes have come and gone, and my schedule has finalized, and so I should be able to do like Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday, Sunday. Actually, yeah.
Competing. Okay.
Says Tyler.
It says me. Okay, fine, whatever. It was between, like, if I had my way, I would be doing Tuesdays and Saturdays, but I have a certain thing I have, like, a commitment I've given to on Saturday afternoons.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know either. So, Cam, where can we find you and your work? Because you got an awesome podcast that talks about video game news, I've heard.
Isn't that crazy? It's wild. So
thoughts.
You can find me. That's not just video game news, though. Let me do it up a little bit.
Go ahead, glorify.
So first off, you can find me on Twitter at CamCollects is my preferred social media. Check me out there. I stream on Twitch as well, twitch.tv/CamCollects. I mainly do Pokemon stuff, and you can find me Monday nights at 6 p.m. EST. Monday at 7 p.m. EST. Friday at 6 p.m. EST. And those are my two streams. And I'm an affiliate now, so that's fun. And if you want to check out my other podcast, you can find that at intothevideogame.com.
Okay.
Never mind, .com. That was a total vocal flub on my end. Into the video game. What?
Did I just miss something? What happened?
Yeah, I said intothevideogame.com.
Oh, well, it is after the hour mark, so
we're fine.
So Cam's lesser known Cam Girl site.
My Cam Girl site. It's me. So intothevideogame.com, and primarily what we talk about is it's news, but I think when you say video game news, I agree that video game news is a weak topic. So that's not what we do. We do industry analysis. We don't report on the news. We analyze the news and the industry and the trends and where we're going in the future. So
okay. I'm sorry. I think I had what you could understand as a Yukiko moment, where like it went over my head, but when I finally it clicked, I started I could stop.
Yeah, I was like, is Tyler drunk again?
No,
he's getting close.
He's getting close off of that Red Hot.
I'm gonna say, oh yeah, drunk off of Red Hot.
Yeah,
podcast title right there. Anyways, I think that's gonna be it for us, guys. That was episode 18. Let's wrap it up here, right there. I think it was a good episode. We did pretty good. But let's talk more about, hopefully, maybe a little mention of Spider-Man next week. But of course, our Destiny 2 and all that stuff.
Maybe.
Anyways, maybe. That was Cam. That was Nick. I'm Tyler. And that was Casual Master Quest. And don't forget to never stop the grind. See you guys later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I love you.
Love you.
Find more of our work by searching for Casual Master Quest on iTunes, Google Play, and other podcast players. Check out what we'll be doing next week on Twitter at MasterQuestPod.